The phone screamed into the silence at 12:47 a.m. Ethan Ward's fingers froze over his keyboard, the glow of 3 monitors casting blue shadows across his glass-walled apartment. Seattle's skyline blinked through the rain-streaked windows behind him, indifferent and cold. He glanced at the screen. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something in the persistence of the ring, sharp, desperate, made him swipe. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. Small, shaky breathing. Please. A child's voice, barely a whisper. Please, my mom's not waking up. Ethan sat up straighter, his heart suddenly loud in his chest. What? Who is this? She won't wake up. I tried shaking her. I tried. The voice cracked into a sob. Okay. Listen to me. Ethan was already on his feet, pacing. Where are you? What's your address? I don't know. We moved. There's a green door and stairs that smell funny. His mind raced. Wrong number. Had to be. But the terror in that small voice was real, visceral, cutting through every rational thought. He pulled up his laptop, fingers flying across keys. What's your mom's name? Maya. Maya Torres. Stay on the line with me. Don't hang up, okay? He was already tracing the call, using software he'd developed for his robotics company, location services most people didn't know existed. The algorithm worked fast. An address flickered onto his screen. Eastlake neighborhood. 20 minutes away. What's your name? He asked, grabbing his jacket. Leah. Leah, I'm coming to help. Keep talking to me. Is your mom breathing? I think so. But she's so cold. Ethan was out the door, taking the stairs instead of waiting for the elevator. His Audi's engine roared to life in the underground garage. Rain hammered the windshield as he peeled out onto the empty streets. I'm scared, Leah whispered. I know, but you're being so brave. I'm going to be there soon, okay? Maybe 10 minutes. Can you unlock the front door for me? Okay. The city blurred past, neon signs, empty intersections, the Space Needle's distant point piercing the low clouds. Ethan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. He didn't know these people, didn't know why this little girl had his number. But none of that mattered now. Still there, Leah? Yes. Her voice was so small. Good girl. Almost there. The neighborhood shifted as he drove. Glass towers giving way to older buildings, cracked sidewalks, graffiti-tagged walls. He found the address, a tired apartment complex with a flickering porch light and a green door hanging slightly askew. Ethan took the steps 2 at a time, phone still pressed to his ear. I'm outside now. Which apartment? 2B, upstairs. He pushed through the entrance. The stairwell did smell, a mix of mildew and old cooking oil, and found the door already cracked open. Inside, a single lamp cast long shadows across a cramped living room. Toys scattered on the floor, a couch with visible springs. And on the threadbare carpet, a woman lay motionless, her dark hair spread around her like she'd simply fallen asleep. Beside her, clutching a stuffed rabbit, was a little girl with huge brown eyes and tear-stained cheeks. Leah. She nodded, and Ethan felt something crack in his chest. He knelt beside the woman, Maya, and checked her pulse. Faint but steady. Her skin was cold, lips pale. He pulled out his phone again. 911. What's your emergency? While he gave the address, Leah crawled closer, her small hand gripping his jacket sleeve. He could feel her trembling. They're coming, he told her after hanging up. The ambulance. They'll help your mom. Is she going to die? The question hit him like a punch. He looked into those terrified eyes and forced his voice steady. No, she's going to be okay. I promise. He wasn't sure he believed it, but Leah needed to hear it. The paramedics arrived in a blur of motion, questions, equipment, controlled urgency. Maya was lifted onto a stretcher, an oxygen mask placed over her face. One of the paramedics, a woman with kind eyes, turned to Ethan. Are you family? No. He glanced at Leah, who was now clutching his hand like a lifeline. I'm a friend. We're taking her to the Swedish medical center. You should bring the daughter. Leah refused to let go of him the entire ride. In his car, following the ambulance through rain-slicked streets, she sat in the passenger seat, still holding that worn rabbit, staring straight ahead. How did you get my number? Ethan asked gently. Mom's phone was dead. I used the neighbor's phone. I just pressed buttons. I didn't know who I was calling. Random. Pure chance. Or fate, depending on what you believed. At the hospital, the emergency room was all harsh fluorescent lights and antiseptic smells. Ethan stayed with Leah in the waiting area while doctors worked on Maya. A nurse brought coloring books. Leah ignored them, watching the doors where her mother had disappeared. She works really hard, Leah said suddenly. 3 jobs. She's always tired. Ethan's throat tightened. I'm sure she is. We don't have a lot. But Mom says that's okay. She says we have each other. An hour passed. Then 2. Somewhere around 3 a.m., a doctor emerged, middle-aged, exhausted but calm. She's stable. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, exhaustion. Her body just shut down. We're keeping her overnight for observation and fluids. Relief crashed through Ethan. Beside him, Leah started crying, not from fear this time, but release. Can I see her? She asked. Soon. Let her rest a little first. When the doctor left, Ethan approached the billing desk. The woman behind the counter looked up, weary but professional. The patient in room 7, Maya Torres. What's the situation with her insurance? The woman checked her computer, lips thinning. She doesn't have any listed. Of course she didn't. Ethan pulled out his wallet. Put whatever the initial treatment costs on this card. Don't tell her. Just handle it. The woman's eyebrows rose, but she took his Black American Express without comment. Ethan signed the receipt, $3, $200 for emergency care, and folded it into his pocket. By the time Leah was finally allowed to see her mother, dawn was breaking outside. Ethan stayed in the hallway, suddenly aware of how out of place he was. His designer jacket, his expensive watch, in a hospital where most people were fighting just to afford the copay. He could have left then. Probably should have. But when Leah emerged from Maya's room an hour later and ran to hug him, her small arms barely reaching around his waist, something kept him rooted. Mom wants to meet you, Leah said. The woman in the hospital bed looked younger than Ethan had expected, maybe early 30s, with delicate features and dark eyes that burned with fierce intelligence despite her obvious exhaustion. She watched him enter with an expression he couldn't quite read. You're the one who helped, Maya said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. Anyone would have done the same. No, she shook her head slowly. They wouldn't. The nurse told me you paid part of the bill. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. It was nothing. It was everything. Her eyes shimmered. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to. An awkward silence stretched between them. Leah, oblivious, climbed carefully onto the bed beside her mother. You should rest, Ethan said finally. I should go. But as he turned to leave, Maya's voice stopped him. Wait. What's your name? Ethan. Ethan Ward. Recognition flickered across her face, brief but unmistakable. She'd heard the name before. His company was one of the largest tech firms in Seattle. He saw the moment she made the connection, saw her expression shift from gratitude to something harder. Pride. Suspicion. The look of someone who'd learned not to trust kindness that came too easily. Thank you, Mr. Ward, she said, more formally now. We won't take up any more of your time. He wanted to say something else, but her walls were already up. So he just nodded and left, Leah's small wave following him out. 3 days later, Ethan found himself at Swedish Medical Center again, not for Maya, but to drop off a donation for the children's ward. His assistant had organized it. Toys, books, art supplies. The kind of thing his company did quarterly for good PR. He was signing the delivery paperwork when a small voice said, Ethan. Leah came running down the corridor, her mother hurrying behind her, looking healthier but still tired. Maya wore scrubs, probably borrowed from the hospital, and her hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. Hey, Ethan said, surprised. You're still here. I work here now, Maya said, catching up to Leah. Well, volunteer. They offered me a position helping in the children's art therapy program. Just a few hours a week, but she shrugged. It's something. Mom used to be a real art teacher, Leah announced proudly. Before everything went wrong. Leah, Maya said sharply, but her daughter just blinked innocently. Ethan studied Maya more carefully now. Despite the exhaustion, despite the borrowed scrubs and the shadows under her eyes, there was something luminous about her. Strength. Resilience. The kind that came from being broken and choosing to keep standing anyway. If you're looking for work, he heard himself say, my company has a creative outreach initiative. We fund art programs in community centers across the city. We could use someone with teaching experience. Maya's expression shuddered immediately. I don't need charity. It's not charity. It's a paid position. $15 an hour, flexible schedule. You'd be working with kids, mostly from low-income families. teaching them art, helping them express themselves. He paused. I'm not trying to save you. I'm just making an offer. She wanted to refuse. He could see it in the set of her jaw, the defensive tilt of her shoulders. But he could also see her calculating, weighing pride against practicality, against what was best for Leah. I'll think about it, she said finally. Ethan pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it to her. Their fingers brushed briefly. Take your time. He walked away, feeling her eyes on his back. Hey, wherever you're watching this from, Seattle, New York, somewhere across the world, I want to know, have you ever had a moment where a stranger changed everything? Drop a comment below. This story's just getting started. 2 weeks passed before Maya called. Ethan was in a board meeting when his phone buzzed. He excused himself, stepping into the hallway. Mr. Ward? Her voice was carefully neutral. It's Maya Torres. About that position, if it's still available, I'd like to apply. It's yours. Don't you want to interview me? Check references. Do I need to? A pause. Then, softer, no. I suppose you don't. She started the following Monday at the Rainier Community Center in South Seattle. Ethan made it his business to stop by that first day, just to make sure everything was running smoothly, he told himself. Not because he wanted to see her again. The center was a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and high ceilings. Kids from the neighborhood filled the space, drawing, painting, chattering in a dozen languages. And in the middle of it all was Maya, her face transformed by a smile so genuine it knocked the breath from Ethan's lungs. You came, she said when she spotted him. I wanted to make sure you had everything you needed. The supplies are perfect. The kids are amazing. She gestured around, wordless. This is exactly what I needed. Thank you. Stop thanking me. Then stop giving me reasons to. Their eyes met, and something shifted in the air between them, subtle but undeniable. Over the next month, Ethan found excuses to visit the center, upgrading their computers, installing new tablets for digital art, setting up a small robotics program for the older kids. Maya called him out on it exactly once. You know you don't need to keep helping, she said one evening after the kids had left. They were alone in the studio, surrounded by half-finished paintings and the smell of acrylic paint. Maybe I like helping. Or maybe you're trying to fix something you think is broken. Are you broken? She met his gaze head-on. We all are. In different ways. Ethan thought about his sister, Melissa, who'd overdosed 7 years ago after a battle with addiction he'd been too busy to notice. Too absorbed in building his company, improving himself, to see her spiraling. Yeah, he said quietly. We are. Something unspoken passed between them, recognition, maybe. The understanding of shared scars. Leah started drawing pictures of them. Ethan and Maya, side by side, smiling. She left them scattered around the studio like breadcrumbs. She likes you, Maya said one day, finding him studying one of the drawings. I like her too. She's a great kid. She didn't have a father. He left when I was pregnant. Said he wasn't ready for a kid. Maya's voice was matter of fact, but Ethan heard the old hurt underneath. I've tried to be enough for her. But sometimes. You are enough, Ethan said. More than enough. Maya's eyes glistened. She turned away quickly, but not before he saw the tears. Sorry, I don't usually fall apart like this. You're not falling apart. You're human. She laughed, the sound watery but genuine. When did you get so wise? I'm not. I'm just good at pretending. They were getting closer. Ethan could feel it in the way conversation came easier now, in the comfortable silences that stretched between words, in the way Maya started to smile when she saw him, genuine and unguarded. He was falling for her. Terrifying and impossible, but true. Then Raphael showed up. It was a Tuesday evening. Ethan had brought dinner, Thai food from a place near his office, and he and Maya were eating with Leah at one of the studio tables when the door banged open. The man who walked in was tall, muscular, with a practiced swagger that immediately set Ethan's teeth on edge. He wore expensive sneakers and had the kind of tan that came from a salon. Maya, he said, his voice too loud in the quiet space. Long time. Maya went rigid, her hand tightening around her fork. Raphael, what are you doing here? Came to see my daughter. His eyes slid to Leah, who had gone very still. Hey, baby girl. Remember your daddy. You're not my daddy, Leah whispered. Raphael's smile faltered. Sure I am. I know I've been gone a while, but... Get out, Maya said, standing. You don't get to walk in here after 8 years and pretend. I got rights, Raphael interrupted. I looked into it. Biological father never signed away custody. I could take her right now if I wanted. Over my dead body. Don't be dramatic. I just want to get to know her. That's reasonable, right? He looked at Ethan for the first time, assessing. Who's this? New boyfriend already. None of your business, Maya said. Leave. Now. Or what? You'll call the cops? Tell them what? That I want to see my kid. Raphael laughed, but there was something mean in it. Face it, baby. You can't give her what she needs. I saw that program website. Charity cases. What have we become? Ethan stood slowly, positioning himself between Raphael and Maya. She asked you to leave. Yeah? Who's gonna make me? You. Raphael stepped closer, and Ethan could smell alcohol on his breath. Rich boy playing hero? This isn't your family, man. This isn't your business. He's more family than you'll ever be, Leah said suddenly, her voice small but fierce. Leave my mom alone. Something flickered in Raphael's expression. Shame, maybe, or anger. He took another step forward. Ethan didn't think. He just moved, putting himself fully in front of Maya and Leah. Walk away, Ethan said quietly, or I call the police and file a restraining order. Your choice. Raphael stared at him for a long moment. Then he spat on the floor and turned, slamming the door behind him. The silence after he left was deafening. Mom. Leah's voice was shaking. Maya was beside her daughter immediately, pulling her close. It's okay. He's gone. Everything's okay. But Ethan could see she was trembling too. We should call the police, he said. Document this. Start building a case. For what? Maya's laugh was bitter. He's right. He's her biological father. I can't afford a lawyer to fight custody. I can barely afford rent. I can help with. No, she stood, her eyes blazing. No. You can't just throw money at this and fix it. You can't fix me. I'm not one of your projects, Ethan. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Swooping in, saving the poor, struggling mother. Makes you feel good, doesn't it? Like you're making up for something. The words hit close enough to hurt. Ethan's jaw tightened. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. Maya was shaking now. You don't understand what it's like. You've never had to choose between electricity and food. Never had to hold your daughter while she cries because the other kids have new shoes and she doesn't. You live in that glass tower and look down at the rest of us and think you can save everyone. But you can't. You couldn't even save your sister. The words hung in the air like shrapnel. Ethan went very still. How do you know about my sister? I looked you up. After you gave me that job. Ethan Ward, tech genius, lost his sister to addiction. Built an empire to prove something to himself. And now you're trying to save me instead. Her voice cracked. But I don't need saving. I just need you to leave us alone. Maya, Leah whispered, but Maya wasn't listening. Ethan felt something break inside him. Something that had been carefully held together for years. You're right, he said quietly. I couldn't save Melissa. I was too late, too blind, too caught up in my own world to see she was drowning. And I've hated myself for it every single day since. He looked at Maya, really looked at her. But this isn't about that. This is about you being scared and pushing away anyone who gets too close because it's easier than letting them in. Don't psychoanalyze me. I'm not. I'm just telling the truth. He took a breath. I'm not trying to fix you, Maya. I don't think you're broken. I think you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. But everyone needs help sometimes. Everyone deserves someone in their corner. And I want to be that person, not because it makes me feel good, but because I care about you. About both of you. Silence. Maya stared at him, her chest heaving, tears streaming down her face. I can't, she whispered. I can't let myself depend on someone again. What happens when you leave? What if I don't? The question hung between them. Finally, Leah stood up. She walked over to Ethan and took his hand, then reached for her mother's. Please don't fight, she said. Please. Maya closed her eyes, fresh tears spilling over. I'm sorry, she said. God, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. It's okay. It's not. Raphael shows up, threatening to take Leah. I'm terrified. And I took it out on you. Ethan gently squeezed Leah's hand, then released it to step closer to Maya. Let me help. Not because I think you can't handle it, but because you shouldn't have to handle it alone. How? I know a lawyer. One of the best family attorneys in the state. She owes me a favor. Let me call her. Just to talk. See what your options are. Maya wavered, pride warring with practicality. Finally, she nodded. Okay. Thank you. It wasn't much. But it was a start. The legal consultation happened 2 days later. Jennifer Chun, a sharp-eyed attorney in her 50s, reviewed Maya's case over coffee at her downtown office. "The good news," she said after an hour, "is that abandonment for 8 years gives you strong grounds to maintain sole custody. The bad news is Raphael could still petition for visitation rights, and without clear evidence of him being unfit, substance abuse, violence, etc., a judge might grant it." "So what do I do?" Maya asked. "Document everything. If he shows up again, call the police immediately. We filed for a restraining order based on his threatening behavior, and we prepare for a custody hearing, just in case." Jennifer paused. "This won't be free. Even with my discount, you're looking at around $5,000 in legal fees." Maya's face fell. "I don't have that kind of money." "I'll cover it," Ethan said immediately. "Ethan, we'll call it a loan. You can pay me back when you're able. Or not. I don't care." He met her eyes. "Please, let me do this." Maya looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Okay, but I will pay you back. Every penny. Deal." Jennifer drew up the paperwork that afternoon. Ethan paid the retainer without blinking. And when Maya thanked him afterward, standing on the sidewalk outside the attorney's office, he just shook his head. "You don't have to keep thanking me." "Yes, I do. Because most people wouldn't do what you're doing." "Maybe I'm not most people." She smiled then, a real smile, soft and wondering. "No, you're really not." They walked back to the parking garage together, shoulders almost touching. It was one of Seattle's rare sunny days, the kind where the whole city seemed to exhale in relief. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said suddenly. "Anything." "Why did you answer?" "That night, when Leah called. You could have ignored it. Most people would have." Ethan thought about it. "I don't know. Instinct, maybe. Or maybe some part of me was waiting for that call. For a reason to be something other than what I'd become. Which was alone." The word came out heavier than he intended. Successful, sure, but completely alone. Maya stopped walking. They were in his car now, a sleek Audi that probably cost more than she'd made in the past 3 years combined. "You're not alone anymore," she said softly. "Neither are you." The air between them crackled with possibility. Ethan wanted to kiss her, desperately wanted to close the distance and find out if her lips were as soft as they looked. But he held back, aware of how fragile this thing between them still was. "I should go pick up Leah," Maya said, not moving. "Yeah, I have a meeting." Neither of them moved. Finally, Maya laughed, the sound nervous and bright. "This is ridiculous." "What is?" "Standing here like teenagers. Afraid to." She stopped, biting her lip. "Afraid to what?" Instead of answering, Maya stepped forward and kissed him. It was brief, almost chaste, a whisper of contact that lasted maybe 3 seconds. But it sent electricity through Ethan's entire body. When she pulled back, her cheeks were flushed. "That," she said. "Afraid to do that." Ethan grinned, feeling lighter than he had in years. "For the record, you can do that anytime you want." "Good to know." She was still smiling when she walked away. The restraining order was granted a week later. Raphael stayed away, at least for now. Maya threw herself into work at the community center, her confidence growing with each class. Leah blossomed, her drawings growing bolder and brighter. And Ethan found himself at the center most evenings, helping where he could, setting up equipment, running the robotics workshop he'd started. Staying for dinner turned into staying until after Leah went to bed, talking with Maya about everything and nothing. They didn't rush it. Both of them had been hurt before and had learned caution the hard way. But every day brought them closer, a hand held here, a kiss there, conversations that stretched past midnight. One evening, about 6 weeks after Raphael's appearance, Ethan arrived at the center with a box under his arm. "What's that?" Leah asked, immediately curious. "A project I've been working on." He set the box on the table and opened it carefully. Inside was a small mechanical bird, about the size of his hand. It was made of silver and copper, with delicate wings that caught the light. "Whoa," Leah breathed. Ethan pressed a button, and the bird's wings began to move, slow, graceful flaps that were eerily lifelike. "You said you liked birds," he told Leah. "So I made you one that won't fly away." Leah's eyes filled with tears. "For me? For you?" She threw her arms around him, and Ethan felt his throat tighten. Over her head, he caught Maya's gaze. She was crying too, but smiling. "Thank you," she mouthed. That night, after Leah had gone to bed clutching her mechanical bird, Ethan and Maya sat on the fire escape outside her apartment. The city spread below them, all lights and possibilities. "I need to tell you something," Maya said. Ethan's stomach clenched. "Okay. When you first helped us, I was so angry. Not at you, at myself. For needing help. For being in that position in the first place. I spent so long building walls, convincing myself Leah and I were fine on our own." She paused. "But we weren't fine. We were drowning. And you threw us a line." "Maya, let me finish." She took his hand. "What I'm trying to say is, I'm not angry anymore. I'm grateful. Not just for the practical help, but for you. For the way you see me. Like I'm more than just a struggling single mom. Like I'm someone worth knowing. You are worth knowing. Worth everything." She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "I think I'm falling in love with you, Ethan Ward." His heart stopped, then started again, faster. "You think? Okay, I know. I'm definitely falling in love with you." "Good." He pressed a kiss to her hair. "Because I'm already there." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe. 6 months later, on a rare sunny Seattle morning, the three of them stood at the community center. Leah's artwork, a vibrant painting of a family holding hands under a rainbow, had won first place in a citywide youth art competition. The piece hung in the center's main hall, with a plaque bearing her name. "I can't believe I won," Leah kept saying, bouncing on her toes. "I can," Maya said. "You're incredibly talented. Mom helped me with the colors. And Ethan helped me with the robot I painted in the corner." She pointed to a small silver figure in the painting, barely visible, but there. "Team effort," Ethan said, ruffling her hair. They took photos, the three of them in front of the painting, smiling. Ethan's assistant would later call it the best picture he'd ever taken. Not because of the lighting or the composition, but because of the way he looked in it. Happy. Genuinely, unreservedly happy. Later that week, Ethan returned to his apartment, the glass-walled space that had once felt like a prison of his own making. But it didn't feel that way anymore. Not since Maya and Leah had started spending weekends there, filling it with laughter and warmth and the particular chaos of an 8-year-old with endless energy. His phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Asterisk, "Leah wants to know if you'll come to her school play next month. She's playing in a tree." Asterisk. Ethan smiled and typed back. Asterisk, "I wouldn't miss it. I hear she's the best tree in the business." Asterisk. Her response was immediate. Asterisk, "She really is. See you tonight." Asterisk. Absolutely. He stood at the window, looking out at the city that had once seemed so cold and indifferent. But everything looks different now. Seattle was no longer just the place where he'd built his empire. It was home. The place where a wrong number had become the right call. The place where he'd found his family. Sometimes fate doesn't knock politely. Sometimes it calls at midnight, terrified and desperate, and changes everything. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to answer, it gives you exactly what you didn't know you needed. A second chance. A new beginning. A reason to believe in possibility. Ethan had answered that call. And in doing so, he'd found himself. If this story touched you, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe, because we've got more stories like this coming your way. Stories about hope, second chances, and the families we choose. I'll see you in the next one. The rain started again, pattering against the windows. But inside, surrounded by the life he'd built from one midnight call, Ethan Ward had never felt warmer.